Templar Dragonknight, Son of Thunder, is no more. His channel has been deleted from YouTube, all because he couldn't leave well enough alone. He just had to continue pushing my buttons until I finally clapped back at him. And because he doesn't understand fair use, it was all legal for me to do so. To assist me with today's video, I've got Templar's father here with me. And I don't mean on Discord, I mean he's here. You want to meet him? Here you go. See, Templar? It's your dad! So, about 20 months ago, as of the time of this recording, which, for the record, is being recorded around mid-August 2023, in case that's not the same time period it goes up. Anyway, around January of 2022, I published a video called How Not to Do Fair Use. In that 2-hour-long video, I provided extensive case law and extensive reasoning, with sources no less, proving that it takes more than just providing criticism in order to get fair use. I explained, and I thoroughly explained over the course of 2 whole hours, that playing the entirety of my video, just with occasional commentary over it, is a surefire way to kill your case for fair use. I provided sources out the ass. I provided extensive explanations as to how each of the four factors of fair use are going to be applied in court, and I even provided an easy-to-follow along with checklist so that you can follow along with me. I didn't make this overly complicated, and yet nobody fucking listened to me. No matter how much I explained myself, it all fell on deaf ears. People just kept insisting that the third and fourth factors of fair use are not relevant at all. That as long as they provide even an iota of criticism, that they not only have a solid case for fair use, but that their case for fair use is so impenetrable that if I even try to disagree with them, if I even try to, that it's necessarily frivolous, and that I would get, if I tried to file the lawsuit, it would get thrown out on a motion to dismiss, and I would be sanctioned for filing a frivolous lawsuit, because criticism, therefore fair use. No other factors matter at all. You don't have to take my word for it. I had sources. Nobody bothered to provide me with any rebuttal sources stating that the third and fourth factors were not relevant. And let me ask you this, if they aren't meant to be relevant to the fair use determination, why are they listed in the goddamn statute? Huh? Never thought about that, did you? You fucking dogcock suckers? Zoophiles, fucking pedophiles? You obviously never thought about that, did you? How can something not be relevant? How can it not be a factor when the plain text of the goddamn statute says that it's a factor? You people just make no damn sense. So anyway, last February I decided to, both as a means of giving my channel its own little identity, and also as a shortcut around copyright, some copyright issues, and I'm gonna get to exactly which ones in a minute, because no, they're not the ones you're thinking of. I decided I would go on Fiverr and commission a composer and hire a composer to commission a few original tracks for me. These were bear in mind that these songs are actually available on my channel in their pure form. I'll even post a playlist right now. You can see, now these songs, if you want to listen to them without me talking over them, that they're going to be paywalled. You're going to have to join my channel as a bronze channel member or higher in order to see that. Or rather, to listen to them. The important thing is that I own the copyright to these 10 songs. I am the sole copyright holder. The composer even asked for permission to post my songs on his own channel because he understands that as the copyright holder, I get final say in that matter. These are legally classified as works for hire, and they are eligible to be considered works for hire under the copyright statute because they are meant to be supplementary works to audio-visual works. Specifically, they're clearly meant to be supplementary to my YouTube videos. They're providing background music. And even if that explanation doesn't hold up in court, it still doesn't matter because I paid a lawyer on Fiverr, an American lawyer, to draft a contract for me that states that not only is this a work for hire, but even if it isn't legally eligible to be a work for hire, that he is, the composer, that is selling the copyright to me. So, and bear in mind, I tried to have these songs enlisted in Content ID, and while my efforts to do that fell through the cracks for other reasons, the Content ID agent that I was working with took this contract as a valid proof that that I am indeed the sole copyright holder of these songs. So, if it needs to hold up in court, I'm pretty sure it will. Now, here's the part that I alluded to earlier. It's not the part that you think that I'm shortcutting around. I want to emphasize this. If you want to criticize my videos, it is not necessary for you to criticize the background music in order to get fair use. The music is subject to a separate copyright, but that is just so that that's just so that I don't have to go to the trouble and expense of registering the copyright for each individual video whenever it gets infringed upon. That's all. Since I have the registration for these songs, if any of my videos going forward, which are going to use this music, if any of those videos get infringed upon in a way that isn't fair use, I would be able to file suit immediately instead of having to wait patiently for a registration to go through. If you're trying to criticize my videos, and you can get fair use on the criticism of the things that I'm saying in those videos, then you, by proxy, have also got fair use for the background music that those words are attached to. So yes, you do have that going for you. The problem is that you still have to actually get fair use. And that's, for reasons that I've already alluded to, and which I'm going to go into a lot more detail on later in this video, so many of you fail to do that. And that's where that's what we're going to be talking about today. But before I do, I actually want to discuss something else. Something that shocked even me when I first learned this. And that is that as far as copyright law is concerned, these songs are officially, still to this day, unpublished. Yeah, you probably had no idea about that, did you? And I must admit, I was shocked to hear this too. The thing is, under copyright law, published requires that the work in question must be distributed or licensed for distribution, to the point where copies of it are available for sale. And the plain text of the statute, and bear in mind, this is plain text. No case law necessary, it's plain text. It simply says that merely performing or displaying the work does not count as publishing it. So, let's say you're going to a concert. Your favorite singer is holding a concert in your town, you get a ticket. And at that concert, he or she starts singing a brand new song that hasn't hit the radio yet. Guess what? That song is not considered published because he hasn't licensed it for any sort of copies for sale. It's not available on iTunes. It's not on a CD yet. You were there when he performed it in public for the first time. That does not qualify as publication as a matter of law. That sounds fine and dandy, doesn't it? But how does posting something on YouTube not count as publication? Well, it turns out that the internet is amorphous motherfucker, and it turns out that that in the eyes of the U.S. Copyright Office, simply posting something online, what's legally going to be classified as website content, isn't necessary. It can count as publication, but not necessarily. Simply by dint of it being on a publicly visible website, that doesn't qualify as publication as a matter of law. And my source for this, and I'm even going to post a link in the description for this source, is what the U.S. Copyright Office has titled Circular 66. I'll post a link down in the description, and I'll post screenshots on screen. In order to be considered published, the works have to be posted on a site that has a first-party download option that provides a retainable copy. Now, later on in this circular, they say point blank that streaming, and that includes on-demand streaming like what YouTube is best known for, not just live streaming like on Twitch, that streaming a video is classified as a performance, and therefore does not count as publication on its own. Since I haven't posted these songs anywhere except YouTube so far, that's only streaming it. It's video on demand streaming. It's not live stream, but it's still streaming nonetheless. And the Copyright Office makes no distinction between the two. See, the thing about YouTube is it does not allow viewers to download offline copies of videos, at least not without a third-party extension or an app or a separate app, and those don't count. It has to be a third-party download option, and YouTube expressly forbids you from doing that in its terms of service, although how often they actually enforce that is a different story. And no, before anyone asks, because I know you're all thinking of it, YouTube Premium doesn't count. That offers you a chance to download videos. So, like, if you're going on a road trip, or if you're going on a plane, where you're not going to have internet connection, you can save these videos for later. The problems with that, however, are twofold. First, you can only watch the videos within the YouTube mobile app, so anybody who's trying to get fair use of my videos clearly didn't download my videos using that method, so it's not. You might as well be claiming that this qualifies as publication just because if I'm logged in, I can download my own videos in a way and do that. Obviously, that's not what anyone who used fair use, who wants to claim fair use of my videos, that's not what they did. That's clearly not what they did, so it doesn't count. Second problem with YouTube Premium is that these videos will automatically delete themselves after a few days. In other words, they are not retainable. And Circular 66 makes it clear that the copies have to be considered be in a retainable format in order for the posting on that site to be considered published, to constitute publication as a matter of law. So YouTube Premium does not qualify. In order for it to be posted on a website, and for that posting to constitute publication as a matter of law, what that means is you need something like Pixabay, for example. That's where I get a lot of my stock content. As you can see from the clip that I'm showing on screen right now, Pixabay has a download option of its own. It's not just right click and select save image. That's Windows itself. That's like the browser that's providing that option. No, it has to be the website itself that has its own standalone download feature. And YouTube, aside from Premium, which just doesn't count, does not have that option. And here's the thing, even if what I just said about how YouTube Premium works, even if that's wrong, it would still be considered unpublished because, as you can see from this screenshot from Circular 66, I get to decide, as long as it's even remotely up in the air as to whether or not this site qualifies as publishing, that the Copyright Office is going to defer to my discretion on the matter. So there it is. So yeah, all 10 of these songs are unpublished, which is going to come in handy quite often when it comes to enforcing my copyright. So that's my 10 songs from my channel's original soundtrack. But the first time I used these 10 songs in an actual full-length video happened on March 25th, 2023, where I had published a revised version of my old Stormcloak videos, where I argued why you should side with the Stormcloaks, how they aren't racist, how the Nord citizens of Windhelm majority aren't racist, and how the Stormcloaks actually have a legit beef with the Empire, and how rebelling against the Empire is fully justified. Now, overall, I'm proud of the work that I put in to this video, to this nearly 2.5 hour long video. And to be completely honest, to be completely fair, the feedback that I've received from that video, the direct feedback, has been quite pleasant, to be exact. I'd like to take a moment to just flash a few of the most positive comments for your reading pleasure, so that you can see all the good feedback I've gotten. Now, I used all 10 of my songs in this video. And that means, and bear in mind that means that if you were to basically copy the whole video, you would be infringing on 10 separate copyrighted works at once. And that means that if it turns out that your use of my video isn't a fair use, you would be liable for up to $1.5 million in statutory damages, and even if the judge wanted to, he wouldn't be able to award me any less statutory damages than $7,500. Like, even if he wanted to. And yes, no, you cannot go down to as low as $200 per work infringed, because I have the copyright symbol in the description of that video. It doesn't matter if you genuinely thought your videos were fair use and only when you went to court did you find out otherwise. That's not gonna save you here, because the statute makes it clear that you cannot claim innocent infringement if I provide the copyright symbol. Just period. Full stop. Which means that the minimum statutory damages are going to be $750 per work infringed, and there's no two ways about it. So, yeah, and if there's 10 works that you've infringed upon, that means that the minimum statutory damages, if you basically copy this entire video, is going to be $7,500. So, yeah, think about that before you infringe on my copyright and ignore everything I say about how fair use works. Enter Templar Dragonknight, Son of Thunder, or just Templar for short. Hey, and not in a completely unrelated note, hey, Templar, I don't think your name sounds long-winded enough. Hey, while you're at it, why don't you just call yourself Super Duper Maxi Extreme Ultra Templar Paladin Komodo Dragon Knight, the ultimate son of the greatest dildo of thunder ever, biatch! Your name is too damn long. Anyway, he used to be known as Dovasaurus Paleo Knight, and I mentioned him once in my video, Why I Demand Civility in the comments of my videos. Go back and I'll provide a card in the top right corner of the screen for that, so you can all go and watch it again. So anyway, a few months ago, about a month and a half ago, I started my own Purple Politics YouTube channel. One of the commenters in one of my videos there came on and started talking shit. I clapped back at him. So Templar here, he decided he was gonna post a comment on my video and start talking shit himself. Now, here's the thing. He has long since known that I have blocked him from this channel, my main channel. He knew that he was not welcome to come onto my comment section and start talking shit. I hadn't blocked him from the Purple Politics channel yet, but that's only because I never had the chance to. The bottom line is, he knew, or at least should have known, that his presence on my channels were not welcome, and he just felt entitled to impose his presence onto me, knowing that it was not wanted. So right off the gate, we're on the wrong foot, but he also had the audacity to mock my lack of civility. And considering that I clearly do demand civility in my discussions, he sees that, he looks at me retorting against somebody else, talking shit, and sees nothing but hypocrisy from me. Here's the thing. I would much prefer to have civility in my comments, but I do reserve the right to clap back if someone else throws the first punch. I don't want to get into a verbal altercation But if you force me, I will roast your ass. I mean, just walk this video back a few minutes for ample proof. Okay, I can hold my own in a verbal debate. I can hold my own in an insult contest. If you pick a verbal fight with me, and then get your ass verbally kicked, you have no right to say that I'm a hypocrite when I say that I don't want to even get involved in that shit in the first place. So, when he came onto this new channel that he knew he was not welcome on, and started talking shit to me, I just decided to check out his channel just for good measure. And yes, as it turns out, he had a new series of videos on his channel where he was allegedly debunking my March 25th Stormcloaks video. Now here's the thing, he had made videos about me in the past, and I had previously not bothered to watch his videos about me for two reasons. The first reason is that I refused to give him any attention because I thought, at the time, that was what trolls really just wanted. As I pointed out in my older video about why I demand civility. Now, I wasn't kidding when I said I didn't watch Dovasaurus Paleonite's video beyond the opening segments, so I honestly don't know exactly what arguments he is But the second reason is because the videos that he was responding to had not yet been registered with the Copyright Office, so I'd have to go and register them if I needed to, if I really wanted to pursue this. And for that matter, at the time I had thought that those videos were all counted as being published, which means that since they were more than 3 months old, if I had registered them now, I wouldn't be able to get statutory damages against him, because the registration didn't predate the infringement, and they came after 3 months, more than 3 months after it was published. Now, of course, now I have the registration for the background music being used in that video. And though, even if it wasn't unpublished as mentioned earlier, the registration predates the infringement now. So now that I'm in the driver's seat, and I can actually bring suit against him if I need to, I decided I was going to give the recent debunked videos a look to see if they complied with fair use. They did not. So, and I know what everybody right now is thinking. Didn't he criticize your videos? Didn't he provide criticism? Isn't it transformative? Well, yes and no. Yes, he provided some criticism. I would hardly doubt that this would be classified as highly transformative, but he provided some criticism. The problem is that he copied way more of my Stormcloaks video than he actually needed in order to make his criticism. The amount of copying he did that was in excess of what was actually necessary is ludicrous. Entire sections of my video would be played in their entirety without Templar giving even a single sentence of criticism, and that is not hyperbole. For example, by the way, he at the time that I had noticed this, he only had 2 parts of this video published. But in part one of that video, you guys might remember that in the Stormcloaks video, I started off by establishing ground rules for the discussion, as well as listing off various undisputed facts. Well, when Templar did his reaction to my video, in part 1, he played undisputed facts numbers 1, 2, 7, 8, and 9. All of those undisputed facts were played in their entirety without Templar giving any criticism or commentary about them. So I am not exaggerating when I say that entire sections, multiple whole sections of the video were played in their entirety without criticism. But even barring that, even in sections where he did stop to make criticism, he still copied way more of the video than he actually needed in order to make his criticism. For example, in part 2, and this is only the most egregious example, like there's plenty more where this came from. This is only the biggest one. In part 2, at timestamp 3 minutes and 41 seconds through 8 minutes and 14 seconds, there is a 4 minute and 33 second stretch of my video being played without interruption before he finally stops to make a comment. When he finally stops to give criticism, he really only needed the 8 seconds immediately before he paused in order to make the criticism that he gave. And I'll prove it to you. See, I'm going to play the 4 minute and 33 second clip for you. I'm the copyright holder of that video, so I can do that. No fair use necessary. And I want you to see for yourself. I'll also play a little bit, just a little bit. I actually, because unlike Templar, I am actually going to follow fair use. I'm just going to play a little bit of Templar's criticism of me, and as you can clearly see, the criticism he's providing is only relevant to the 8 seconds immediately before he paused. So I'm just going to play this clip for you and see for yourself. Many people point out that the fact that the Stormcloak army consists entirely of Nord NPCs, except for the player character, is proof that the Stormcloaks in lore only accept Nords, and that the player being allowed in the army is just a gameplay concession, much like how a Khajiit player character being allowed inside cities is a gameplay concession despite the universal consensus that Khajiit caravans are typically barred from entering the cities by reason of them being Khajiit. I personally would be more inclined to agree with this allegation if, like the Khajiit thing, nobody in the game ever made any explicit references to this. If you're playing as a Khajiit, the game just allows you into the cities, but nobody ever makes even a passing reference to the fact that a Khajiit has been allowed in the city walls when they weren't supposed to be. But here, there's literally a line of dialogue coming directly from Galmar's Stone Fist that explicitly rejects the misconception that they only take Nords. This is dialogue and therefore counts as lore. So, sorry, not sorry, but the widespread allegation that the Stormcloaks only take Nords is straight up false. The same can be said for the general allegation that the Stormcloak army advances a mostly racist agenda. At least here, there is the slightest iota of in-game dialogue that could be interpreted to remotely suggest this, but it is scant evidence at best, mostly just throwaway lines and generic combat banner. The line you hear most commonly is, "Skyrim belongs to the Nords." Some people interpret this to mean that the person shouting this line believes that Nords and only Nords have any business living in Skyrim. I honestly find the connection from one to the other to be dubious in the best case scenario. First of all, the fact that this line is only ever given as combat banter is a huge contextual clue as to its intended meaning. Remember that in the real world, when US soldiers enlist in boot camp, the very first thing they're taught is how to take the most extremely vulgar insults imaginable and not react to them. The reason for this training is well documented. It is natural to react to these insults, but reacting to them inhibits your combat prowess and screws up your concentration. So we have to expect the enemy to use those kinds of taunts to get inside your head, which means soldiers need to be trained to shrug it off. Likewise, this line that Skyrim belongs to the Nords, even if we accept that it's racist in the first instance, an allegation I'll go into more detail on momentarily, the fact that it only happens in combat means that it can easily be written off merely as an attempt to get inside the enemy's head, not because they actually and genuinely feel that way. But even barring that, the line can easily be interpreted as being non-racist in the first instance. Think about it. What exactly do they mean by Nords? We assume they're talking about the playable race known as the Nords, but we must also remember that Nordic is also the proper adjective for the province of Skyrim itself. So the line, Skyrim belongs to the Nords, could be the in-game equivalent to saying the USA belongs to white people, or it could be the in-game equivalent to saying the USA belongs to Americans. Not quite as racist now, is it? The only other piece of in-game evidence that even remotely suggests that the Stormcloak army might be racist comes from Adrian Avenici, the blacksmith at the Whiterun shop War Maidens. If you conquer Whiterun for the Stormcloak army, she claims that she gets less patronage these days, and she blames this on Stormcloak racism. However, we must keep in mind that her allegations are entirely uncorroborated. First of all, even if she's telling the truth, that she's making less in profits than she used to, and we have no way of verifying that in-game, there are quite a few plausible explanations for why that is. First of all, the Stormcloaks were already buying their steel from Yorlin Greymane even long before taking over Whiterun.
I don't remember anything even implying that Yorlin Greymane was selling weapons to the Stormcloaks at any point.
So yeah, as you can see, only the last 8 seconds were actually needed. Now bear in mind that the song being played in this section of the video was called, I have it on my channel as Section of Life, and as you can see from this screenshot here, that song is only about 3 minutes and 8 seconds long. Templar's clip was 4 minutes and 33 seconds long. I had played this song on a loop because, again, since I'm the copyright holder, I can do that, no fair use necessary. But for Templar, because the clip he played was longer than the song itself, that means that he literally played more than 100% of the video of that song in its entirety without stopping to give criticism once. Now, at the time that I had noticed this series going, he had only published 2 parts of the video of his series responding to my Stormcloaks video. However, he made it clear that once he had finished that series would have copied the entirety of my Stormcloaks video, literally every single last second of it. At part 1, at timestamp 2 minutes and 33 seconds, he says that he will only debunk about 20 minutes of my video at a time.
I'll just debunk like 20 minutes of his video at a time, because I don't want to make a 5 or 6 hours long video.
At timestamp 39 minutes and 52 seconds of part 1, he admits that there's still plenty to come.
This is just part 1 of many to come.
In other words, by the time he finishes this series, he will have copied the entirety of my Stormcloaks video, literally every single second of it, while only responding to and criticizing a very small portion of it. Now granted, he never got to finish the series, but he has made it clear that this is what he plans to do. Now what's most frustrating about all of this is that Templar had a case for fair use practically gift-wrapped for him. All he had to do, literally all he had to do, was take out the parts of my video that he didn't need in order to make his criticism. If he had simply done that, he would have had a much stronger case. But no, he just had to get greedy. He just had to choose to ignore all the arguments I made, all the logic I gave, all the fucking sources. You don't even have to take my word for it. I literally provided sources proving that the third and fourth factors are important. And he just decided, no, they aren't relevant. I'm giving one sentence of criticism here and there, like rainfall in the desert, and that's all it takes for me to have a 100% chance of fair use. Fuck you. And that's not even counting all the other fair use factors that weigh against him. For starters, there's also the problem that his use of my video is commercial. Yeah, I don't know if he's part of the YouTube Partner Program. I can tell from his accent he's not a citizen of the USA. Maybe he just isn't eligible for the YouTube Partner Program. Maybe they just don't have that in his country. I don't know for sure. But what I do know is this, is that even if he isn't directly profiting from his own reaction video about me, YouTube sure as hell is. Yeah, didn't you know that? That YouTube will still put video ads on everyone's videos, even if the individual uploaders are not getting any money from it. So yeah, bear in mind that, and so yeah, first of all, that's a huge chunk of the first factor. Even if you, yeah, the first factor, which talks about criticism and commentary, yeah, that's only half of the first factor. A good chunk of the first factor also is whether it's commercial. Like, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals has held that minimal transformation, minimal amounts of criticism or news reporting, is going to be outweighed if the use of the copyrighted material is undisputedly commercial. And here, anything that's posted on YouTube is necessarily commercial because YouTube is a commercial website. So that's gonna weigh against fair use. But let's also not forget that that all 10 of my background songs, as well as the Stormcloak's video itself, are legally classified as being unpublished. That means that the second factor of fair use is also going to weigh against you. So, third factor of fair use is going to weigh against you as a matter of course, because you use 100% of my video, and you obviously use way more of my video than what you actually need. The fourth factor is also going to weigh against fair use, because, I mean, when you use the entirety of my video, that's going to create a market substitute per se.
And it's entirely possible that you might not watch the Jukin videos because you saw basically the whole thing in MXR's videos.
Mystery Science Theatre was absolutely criticism and review and absolutely transformative, but they still licensed the movies. Anything that wasn't in the public domain, they negotiated and paid for because, yeah, playing out someone else's entire movie just with wisecracks over it, probably not fair use.
When I say market substitute, it's important to understand, I'm not just talking about people hearing your review of my video and not wanting to waste their time watching my video because they know it's gonna suck. That's not a market substitute. That's market destruction. That crushes the market for my videos. Like, there is no longer any demand for my videos. Market substitute, also known as market usurpation, means people still want to watch my videos, but they don't have to come onto my channel and give me personally any views or watch time in order to see those videos, because you've already shown the whole thing in your reaction series. That's what it means by market substitution. There is still a demand for my videos, a demand that you are now supplying. So, third factor is going to weigh against fair use. Fourth factor is going to weigh against fair use. Second factor is going to weigh against fair use because the songs and the video are all unpublished. And they all are also very creative. The commercialization sub-factor is going to weigh against you. So basically, 3.5 of the 4 factors are already weighing against you as just right out of the gate. So, the criticism you're providing is literally your last bastion of hope for getting fair use. And considering the 3.5 other factors that are already weighing against you, factors you haven't even tried to comply with, unless your criticism is absolute gold, your case for fair use is dead on arrival. And bear in mind, you really are going to have to step it up when it comes to providing this criticism. Not all criticism is created equal. Simply just, if all you're doing is just disagreeing with me, just explaining that you disagree or agree with me, or that you think my takes are stupid, or that you think my takes are deserving of ridicule, that is only the bare minimum amount of criticism. Like, you are not providing very much criticism at that point. You might be considered nominally transformative, the kind that the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals was referring to when it said that the minimal transformation is heavily outweighed by its undisputed commercial nature. In order to be considered highly transformative, you have to provide some genuinely profound and genuinely insightful criticism. Like, it needs to be downright philosophical. It's in order to overcome the 3.5 other factors that weigh against you right out of the gate. Like, this has to transcend mere internet bitching. And it has to just rock somebody's understanding of anything, of the world itself, to its very core, in order for you to overcome the 3.5 factor deficiency that you're just coming into that you have going against you from day one. Needless to say that the odds of you being able to prove that are slim at best. So, as you can see, I have done my legal duty to consider fair use. Obviously, some people like Templar think that if it's fair use, that I have a much higher duty than I actually do. But I know what my duty is. I've read Lens v. Universal. I haven't just read the synopsis of it. I haven't just heard what other people say is the takeaway precedent from it. I've actually read it. And it very clearly says I only have to have a subjective, good faith belief that the infringement is not fair use. I only violate Lens v. Universal if you can prove that I performed literally no fair use consideration whatsoever. Simply an inadequate consideration of fair use does not count. There is no such thing as inadequate consideration of fair use, not under the Lens v. Universal precedent. And, in fact, the plaintiffs in that case even advocated for an objective reasonableness standard, only for the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals to explicitly shoot it down. They made it very clear this is not an objective reasonableness standard. It's only a subjective good faith one. I have to actually be lying about having considered fair use in any as long as I consider fair use in any capacity, I'm legally clean. Get that through your thick fucking skulls, you fucking idiots. I have not violated your legal rights just by issuing any There has not been a single DMCA takedown I have issued in my entire life where I didn't consider fair use. Get over it. Alright? So, I determined that parts 1 and 2 of Templar's series, which were the only ones out at the time, did not constitute fair use. So, on July 22nd, 2023, I issued DMCA takedowns against those 2 parts. On July 28th, 2023, YouTube sent me an email stating that they would not take the videos down unless I explained the basis for my claim in greater detail, but they would not give me any specifics as to exactly what details they wanted me to give. I was supposed to just read their minds on that. That is just something that is just incredibly frustrating dealing with YouTube. This boilerplate ass responses. They don't even tell me exactly what's wrong. They just want me to provide more details about the basis of the claims. And as far as I'm concerned, that is grounds for a loss of safe harbor. I mean, first of all, the statute does not... The DMCA's safe harbor provisions does not allow websites to request any additional information other than what the statute says I have to give. But even if that's a hyperliteral interpretation, even if that's not the correct one, even if a judge were to determine that that the websites could realistically request additional information, in my opinion, fundamental fairness and common sense requires that they actually be reasonably clear as to exactly what information they want me to provide. Not just to ask for the basis for the claim and then expect me to read their minds. Like, the basis is that he used my music without my permission. What more do you fucking want? So, I began drafting a DMCA, a lawsuit to file against YouTube. Just as I was getting ready to send that lawsuit off, on or around July 29th, 2023, Templar, which was the day after YouTube had sent me that email the first time, Templar had actually posted part 3 of his series. Okay, that looks like it's gonna... I might want to include part 3 in the lawsuit, so I'm gonna hold off on mailing it off. After conducting a similar review for fair use as I had done with the first 2 parts, I had determined that, yeah, it follows much the same format as the first 2 parts. Long stretches of my video played without interruption and only occasionally punctuated with Templar's cynical thoughts on the matter. So on July 29th, 2023, I issued another DMCA takedown, and to my shock and amazement, this time YouTube surprisingly took part 3 down. So maybe there's hope for YouTube yet. I contacted YouTube's own lawyers and showed them the lawsuit I planned to file, offering them a chance to settle out of court. I decided to hold off filing the lawsuit for a few days just to see if Templar would issue a counter notification, because since if he did that, obviously I would need to include him in the lawsuit in order to keep the video from getting reinstated. YouTube's lawyers got back to me a few days later, and they even agreed that part 2, bear in mind they were only discussing parts 1 and 2 because they had already taken down part 3. YouTube's lawyers agreed that part 2 wasn't fair use, and they agreed they were going to remove it. Yeah, they did exactly that on August 11th, giving Templar 2 copyright strikes now. Now, I cannot emphasize this enough. YouTube's own lawyers agreed with me that it is not fair use. So how can my case possibly be frivolous? This isn't even a case of YouTube just staying out of it, just processing every DMCA takedown they received without actually looking at it. Here, they looked at it. Their lawyers looked at it, and they agreed that Part 2 was not fair use. So how is my takedown frivolous? How can I possibly have an objectively, even if by some miracle, later down the line it turns out that it isn't fair use? That it is fair use, my bad. How can you possibly say that I had an objectively unreasonable basis for thinking that it wasn't, when YouTube's own lawyers agreed with me after a manual review? Anyway, they were still holding out on Part 1 because not because it was fair, because they felt it was fair use. Oh heavens, no. No, they were still holding out on Part 1 because the timestamp I had provided didn't actually contain any background music at all. As it turns out, I had made a typo when entering the timestamping question. Oops. My bad. Now, see, this is what I was talking about earlier. When they just asked me to state the basis for the claim and then expected me to read their minds. See, this is actually actionable. This is tangible. At this point, he's just telling me point blank in plain black and white text exactly what was wrong. See, that's all I ask. See, was that so fucking hard? So, I responded to them and gave the corrected timestamp. But before YouTube could remove Part 1, Templar, having already received 2 copyright strikes already, he went ahead and deleted the Part 1 of his own accord. Now, here's something that's baffling to me. In a community post, he said that I had copy-striked, which apparently means DMCA Takedown, Part 2 of his video, despite being private. First of all, no, I had already issued the takedown notice before Part 3 even went up. It just had a delayed effect, is all. But what's really baffling to me is that after I had, after Part 3 got taken down, he said in an earlier community post that he was going to remove all of my content from his videos so that I couldn't copyright strike him. This, in turn, begs the question,
why didn't he do that before? Ass.
No, seriously! Think about this for a minute. Think about what this entails. Think about the implications of what he's saying here. By his own admission, he doesn't actually need to use my footage at all. Not just the 8 seconds before he paused to give criticism, but by his own admission, he doesn't even really need the footage at all. So why does he even use it if he doesn't fucking need it? I mean, forget for a minute. Just forget whether it's legal or not. Alright? Forget that for a minute. Forget... why does he even want to use my footage if he doesn't think he truly needs to in order to make his point? For fuck's sake, is it just because he's being lazy? Like, is it just because he just wants to use that to increase the... Is he just looking for an excuse to put in zero effort to make his videos longer and therefore increase the average view duration? Well, I highly doubt that, considering that he admits that he's only reviewing 20 minutes at a time, in large part because he doesn't want this video to just be a single 5-hour-long video.
I'll just debunk like 20 minutes of his video at a time because I don't want to make a 5 or 6 hours long video.
So if it's not pure laziness, then what is it for? Like, is it literally just malice? Are you literally just copying as much of my video as you possibly can, just so you can go, na boo boo, I'm using your shit and you can't stop me because I'm giving criticism? Is that literally all it is? Is it literally just a flex? Are you literally trying to create a market substitute, as I described earlier, where people may still want to see my video, but they can go to your channel to see it? Is that literally all it is? Are you literally just trying to take views away from me? Not destroy the market, not make it so that nobody wants to watch my videos, but make it so that they can see my videos on your channel without me getting any benefit from it. Is that literally all there is? Is that all you're fucking doing? Motherfucker. At that point, you really just do not deserve to even be allowed to argue your case for fair use. Let alone, I mean, it's already a fucking weak case for fair use even then. But even barring that, if your purpose for doing this in the first place, when by your own admission you don't actually need my footage at all, is just to do that, motherfucker, you've lost the plot. So anyway, Templar, parts 2 and 3 of his reaction series were taken down, and part 1 was removed of his own accord. He had 2 copyright strikes. That would suck for anyone, but he still had a channel. His channel was still up. He had not gotten a 3rd copyright strike. So, what does he decide to do when he's 1 strike away from having his channel deleted? He decides to poke the bear. Yeah, he sends me a message basically cussing me out and saying that basically just saying that I deserve all the harassment that I get. During this email, and now bear in mind that I even explained to him, hey, you don't have to get a lawyer if you want to sue me for this. Nowadays, here in the United States, we have this thing called the Copyright Claims Board, or CCB for short. It is basically a small claims court for copyright cases. So you could file a lawsuit. I can't sue him because he's clearly not a U.S. citizen, and the Copyright Claims Board will only accept cases where the respondent is a U.S. citizen, but the claimant can be from whatever country they want. The plaintiff can be a foreigner. Yeah. So I told him, look, you can sue me in the CCB, and you can sue me to get both a declaration of non-infringement, and you can also sue me for 512F misrepresentation, since I apparently didn't consider fair use, even though I did. But you can still sue me for that so that we can make it official. You can get a judgment saying I didn't consider fair use and that I should have to pay you damages. Yes, you can do that. And you won't even need a lawyer to do it. Because I'm a U.S. citizen. You can file the claim against me, and it would be allowed. Alright? You want to hold me to account? Then hold me to account. Take me to the Copyright Claims Board, and let's settle this like adults. He just responded saying he knows he can't do anything, but he still hates my guts for it. And he basically just calls me a dickhead. Alright, you want to do this dance? Let's do this dance. Now, okay, think about this for a minute. For the sake of argument, just for the sake of argument, let's assume that I really am a vindictive dickhead who just wants to silence criticism. That is not true, but that's clearly what you are determined to believe, no matter how many times it's disproven. If that is what you truly believe, then why, oh why, in the name of fucking God, would you continue, why would you go out of your way to actively antagonize me? You are one copyright strike away from having your channel terminated. Bear in mind that you have a dozen other videos about me that I could potentially target. And this is not some throwaway channel that you created at the drop of a hat that is unrelated to your main channel that you actually use daily. No, this is your channel. You have over 640 videos on your channel, and you have over 7,000 subscribers. This is not a throwaway channel. You put a lot of work and years of time into creating this channel that you've created. Alright? You've got a lot to lose here. You haven't lost it yet. So, if you truly think that I really am just this vindictive dickhead, why would you piss all of this away by actively poking the bear, who you know isn't afraid to maul you, when you even admit in writing that you have no recourse if it decides to maul you? Alright, you wanna call me a dickhead? You wanna send me hate mail and harass me and calling me a dickhead? I can be a fucking dickhead for you. Cue the fire and music. Alright, remember the reasons I gave for why I never bothered to issue DMCAs against him in the past? It's because the videos weren't registered, and the videos were more than 3 months old, so I thought I couldn't recover statutory damages against him, which would have made it significantly less worth it for me to actively and aggressively pursue copyright claims against him. But also remember something else I said earlier in this video. If these videos are just posted on YouTube, which they were, that doesn't count as publication as a matter of law. So think about that for a minute. I can apply for registration whenever I want, and it would still be eligible for statutory damages, because any registration is necessarily going to be less than 3 months after the date of first publication, if there is no first date of publication. So, armed with this new knowledge, and also knowing what Templar's typical format is, I decided to give the other videos a look. Remember, I only need to get one more of his videos removed. Just one more, and his entire channel goes up in smoke. So I decided to focus on his video where he bashed my Elden Ring, he bashed a lot of my tweets, and then he did another reaction to my Elden Ring Sucks video. The original video was small enough that I could quickly and easily identify all the parts he was copying. And also, because it was so small, there was a very high likelihood that the entire video was contained inside inside that one reaction video. Sure enough, his reaction contained long stretches of my already short video when he could easily have just played a few seconds before commenting. Just as one example, at timestamp 29 minutes and 33 seconds of his reaction video, up until 30 minutes and 40 seconds, he plays 65.7 continuous seconds. That's more than a quarter of my original video without interruption. And just like last time, I'm gonna play that segment for you, along with a small portion of his criticism, so that you can see what I'm talking about. When I did my retrospective of Dark Souls way back when, I have gotten nothing but pure hatred, but that is the overwhelming majority of what I have gotten. Everyone, just about everybody and their mother, says that I just need to get good. Well, frankly, I don't give a shit. Everybody who thinks that even if I make even a semantic mistake in my review, they will fucking tear me to shreds. Not physically, of course. They will tear me to shreds verbally and act like they're objectively justified. So, instead of just saying, I'm not going to even play the game and I'm not even going to pass judgment, no, fuck that. I'm going to pass judgment. I'm going to get involved. I'm going to actually pass judgment on this damn game, simply because its fan base doesn't deserve to win here.
Then why on earth don't you make a video bashing the community instead of the game?
Now here's the thing. He could very easily have made that criticism just fine with only by copying 12 seconds of that 65.7 second clip. Here, I'll show it to you just to show you what I mean. When I did my retrospective of Dark Souls way back when, I have gotten nothing but pure hatred, but that is the overwhelming majority of what I have gotten.
Then why on earth don't you make a video bashing the community instead of the game?
And here's another example. At timestamp 31 minutes and 8 seconds to 32 minutes and 6 seconds of his video, he played another 56 continuous seconds without interruption. Yeah, and unlike the previous segment, in this instance, the subsequent criticism that he gave was very clearly directed at the video as a whole, and not the set. So there was nothing that he in the 56-second clip that he played that he actually needed in order to make his subsequent criticism. His subsequent criticism was literally just directed towards my video in its entirety. This means that he could have removed that 56-second clip in its entirety, and his reaction video, his review, would have come out just fine. If you take those two segments, the 65.7 second segment and then the 56 second segment, and if you take those two and combine them, that comes out to more than half of my original video that he played without interruption. And even if you don't count the 12 seconds that I conceded to that he could have done, that he could have made, that he could have kept and made his criticism just fine, that still counts as 48% of my original video's total runtime. I'm sorry, but there was just no excuse for that. He copied that all. He copied literally every single second of my video just because he thought he could. Just because he thought he's providing criticism, therefore that's the only thing that he needs to do in order to be guaranteed fair use, even though third and fourth factors are still relevant considerations also. Ugh. So, on August 15th, another DMCA takedown was issued. I again messaged YouTube's lawyers to explain why this is not fair use. I included much of the same arguments that I have included in this video, as you can clearly see. I knew that even if they had disagreed with me and decided that it was fair use, despite my reasons for it not being fair use being exactly the same as the Stormcloaks Debunked series that I talked about earlier, even if by some miracle they decided that it was still fair use, that's okay. I still had 11 more bites at the apple. This guy has made an enemy. This guy refused to leave well enough alone. I'm gonna make sure he regrets that. So, I performed, just to be on the safe side, I decided I was gonna watch a few more of his reactions of me, just to be sure. So, I then turned my attention to his two-part reaction to my video, Why I Demand Civility in the Comments of My Videos. I've mentioned that video a few times already. This guy just doesn't learn a fucking lesson. Once again, he plays the entirety of my video in his reaction. Just like the Stormcloaks, just like what he said he was going to do with the Stormcloaks video, if he were allowed to finish the series, just like what he actually did with my Elden Ring Sucks video. He played every single last second of my original video. And again, just like last time, we'd play very long stretches of my video before finally stopping to give criticism. Here are just the two most egregious examples. And these are just the worst examples for parts 1 and part 2. There are plenty of other pretty long stretches besides these. These are only the worst. In part 1, timestamp 23 minutes 21 seconds until 26 minutes 36 seconds, there is a 3 minute and 15 second stretch of my original video being played without interruption. In part 2, timestamp 5 minutes 25 seconds to 8 minutes 43 seconds, there's a 3 minute and 18 second stretch of my original video being played without interruption. He insists that the third and fourth factors of fair use just don't matter at all, that he has permission to copy the entire video just because he's occasionally providing criticism. If they didn't matter, why would they be explicitly listed in the statute, you dumb shit? So I issued DMCA takedowns against them too. He got his third strike. And now, strike 3, he is now out. And just for the record, as of the time of this recording, he hasn't gotten his third strike just yet. But I know that he's going to get it. If this doesn't happen, if I exhaust all 12 of these videos, and he still doesn't get his third strike, I just won't upload this video. Suffice it to say, if you're seeing this video, it's because it's already happened. Templar is gone now. All because he just had to harass me when he very easily could have just left well enough alone. So, in conclusion, I hope everyone who's watched this video has learned a valuable lesson. Remember the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. You would probably be quite offended if somebody just came onto one of your channels after he had already made it clear he doesn't want you there and just started talking shit. You would probably be quite offended if somebody were to just start sending you hate mail just out of the blue, just cussing you out. At the very least, you shouldn't go around picking fights with people you know you can't fight back against. If you even admit to that person that you would be fucked if he decided to continue his pattern, then at the very least, don't go around poking the bear and enticing him to do what you know he's willing to do. Alright? Templar brought this all on himself. First, he brought attention to himself when he came onto my politics channel and started talking shit. He knew he was not welcome on my channels, so him imposing his presence on a channel he knew he wasn't welcome in, simply because I hadn't blocked him on that channel just yet, that was already untenable. He brought this on himself by making videos that even a cursory review of fair use law would tell him aren't allowed, especially knowing my history of vigorously enforcing my copyright and knowing he didn't have the means to defend himself if I took them down. He brought this on himself by emailing me just to poke the bear, and he brought this on himself by having a backlog of videos he knew I was likely to target and gave me an additional incentive to target them after he harassed me. You can argue it was my fault for issuing the takedowns anyway, but why should I not do that when even YouTube's lawyers admit that it's not fair use? So, to bring this video to a close, I hope you've all learned a valuable lesson about unnecessarily antagonizing people. So please don't do that. It's not going to end well for you. And with that being said, I bid you all adieu. Acerthorn out. Peace!